Hey guys, welcome to Double Shot of Steelers. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports, and we're gonna get into day one of the NFL draft for the Steelers. We're gonna get into day two, that being today, and there's a lot of ground to cover, but it's an unusual day, just as it was an unusual night, in the sense that what's normally a joyful occasion for the team and the draft pick, as you can see here, Ian Dunbar saying thoughts are with Derek Harmon today on the sad loss of his mother. There are reports within the past hour, and reliable reports, that Tiffany Sane, his mom, who'd been on life support as of last night, has in fact passed away. Now, right now at 4:00, he had been scheduled to meet with reporters. This is not at the reporter's request, believe me. And I don't know if that's still up in the air or not. Chris Halleck is over on the south side, so he'll either be joining us or he won't, depending on whether or not there's a press conference. He actually doesn't know. And I'm going to reiterate this. Nobody wants this. Like, nobody wants a press conference, unless maybe the young man would for some reason. At any rate, obviously, deepest condolences, 21-year-old kid. And you heard the way he was speaking about his mom last night, the inspiration that she represented to him, the resilience that he spoke of, with her having had several brain surgeries following a stroke 4 years ago. Really, really unusual situation. We're gonna talk about football. However, there is football that's going on. I appreciate that you guys are chiming in with your own condolences and expressions of someone that we don't even really know yet. Maybe we will over time, and we'll look back on this as just a really unusual setting. Kyle Mundy asks, did he get to tell his mom he made it? Yes, according to one report out of Michigan, he did. Now, whether she was alert or how that's defined, he's family now, says Kyler Michael. When you're, that's the Steelers environment. That's what that is. And I guarantee you that there's going to be people in the Steelers organization, including possible, people like Cam Hayward and soon to be or future teammates who are going to find a way to reach out to him. And that might be the way that they meet him. That might be the way that they first find an opportunity to shake hands or give one of those bro hugs or something like that. I do know that he's in Pittsburgh. He's in the building. So what it is that they choose to do with that, we'll see. And again, we'll adjust. We were going to go live at 4:00 regardless. And again, Chris will join us if he can. If not, he can't. Rich Edwards says, I guess he did more reading on this than I've had a chance to. Kyle told his mom that he made it, and then she passed. Condolences to our newest Steeler and all his family. He did say last night he wanted to tell his mom, hey, Mom, I was drafted into the NFL. So, yeah. Okay. Let's get into some football, guys. Let's do that. All right. Look, you guys are killing me now with these chat comments. Let's get back to football. We're going to do this. It's still the NFL draft. And we're going to get into
they all made me cry.
What now you're making the boss cry. That's enough out of you guys. Seriously. Okay? You can't make her cry. That's against the rules. All right. Let's do this. Here, you want to change the subject in a heartbeat? We can do this. Enough of the Shedeur Sanders stuff too, okay? As it relates to the first round, I know what happened. Okay, now I know what happened. I didn't last night when I was at the facility covering the actual draft. What?
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores, track the latest stats, chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
we got ourselves a little bit of a restart on the program. We can do that too. We're going to talk football here as much as it's fair and within context here. Denny says to me, DK, I'd rather not have Shedeur Sanders for the same reason that I don't want Aaron Rodgers. Brings too much unnecessary attention and too many outside voices. Don't ever presume that stuff affects anybody. I got to tell you, I was in that building last night, and the difference between what's getting discussed in there and the way people are acting in there, and then what you see in social media and what you see in your comment sections and in different places is just night and day. Nobody's thinking about Sanders or his kid in there. But what happens is the network that's airing this is going gaga over him, and people think that this matters. It doesn't. It doesn't. I can promise you right now that the people running the Pittsburgh Steelers weren't giving a passing thought to Shedeur Sanders as this was going on. I had reported to you for weeks, and emphatically so in recent days, that they weren't taking a quarterback in the first round. And nothing about this being Deion's kid or something that Mike Tomlin said in response to a question at a pre-draft press conference was going to change that. So there's nothing here. Don't always fall for whatever the network wants you to talk about, is what I'm saying here. Okay. This is going to be somebody else's quarterbacks and arguably somebody else's headaches. So let's move past that one. Jeremy says here, with the 52nd pick in the 2025 draft, the Steelers select wide receiver DK Metcalf. Folks, be happy. See you in the third. Well, I don't know if it's that simple, Jeremy. Omar Khan has made it clear time and again that he'd like to move into the second round. He'd like to get that pick back, so to speak. Now, it's going to take a lot. It's going to take some significant capital, and it's probably going to take some future capital if you think about it. In other words, if he gives up, let's say, for example, next year's third rounder or fourth rounder, he can do that a little bit more comfortably knowing that he's going to get that pick back because of the comp picks that he's owed for Dan Moore and other free agents that the Steelers lost this offseason. Matt Hyde says, I'm happy about the pick. Meaning Derek Harmon. They were gashed for 200. No, it wasn't 200. It was 300 yards on the ground. Sanders wasn't worth it. Sanders was not in the equation. Stop with the Sanders stuff. He was not in this. It is not a thing. The network had you thinking that. They don't cover the team. There's nothing to do with Sanders here. And here, Darren Watch says, any thinking about Ryan Clark's poor take on Mason Rudolph? I have no idea. Ask me what I think about Mason Rudolph. I don't care what these other people in the networks are thinking. We're in the building. We're dealing with these people daily basis. Denny says, my daddy would have liked for me to get drafted by the Steelers too. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. Let's see what else we got here. I'm not going to fall for it. ESPN stuff. Juan Alonso says, hi, DK and boss. He said hi to you. What could be the next big priority to take advantage of the only pick for today? Here we go. Finally. My feeling is that if you're staying in the third round, there's two ways to go. And I'm not going to give you a definitive answer here. One is, they're going to take running back, because I've been telling you they're going to take a running back. There's going to be a running back selected in this class. It's the only thing I've stated firmly from the beginning, other than that they're not taking a quarterback in the first round. If you do that, if you get your running back, it's going to be a really good player. Okay, it's going to be somebody who you can bring in and put there with Jaylen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell and say, hey, you're part of the room now. Let's see how you fit in. Let's see how you can contribute to the offense or special teams or whatever it is. But the other catch to that is, if you don't take a quarterback in the third round, what are you getting? Because people didn't like the quarterbacks who were available in the first round. And by the time the rest of these guys, some of the familiar names that we've discussed for a while now, are taken in the second round, what's going to be left for you in the third round, let alone the fourth? Do you follow me here? Tobacco Salad, do you see anybody Anyone available in the second round worth losing future assets? I mean, what I see doesn't matter. What the Steelers see, and for Omar to say this out loud, the answer to that is yes, because you're hearing people constantly refer to both the second and the third rounds, day 2, as being the sweet spot of the draft. If that's the case, yes, they want to move back up into that. Joel says, I'm not mad at the pick. We need to stop there. Who would be mad? How do you get mad about taking an outstanding interior defensive lineman? That doesn't even make sense. Coach Carter's trying to get me mad here. Sanders was definitely the fun option. No, he was not an option. Not an option at all. Stop it. 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 He was not an option. Richard Edwards says, longtime listener from Cardiff, Wales. I'm the first person that said that they're from Wales coming in. Pleasure to catch you live. Well, we're going to be waving at you from across the pond when we're in Dublin in a few months. You know, here's Chris. What's going on, Chris?
Hey, how are you?
All right. What happened?
So the latest here, I initially thought that he was here from a couple people I spoke with, but he's actually en route. So he's not even here yet. Press conference is obviously not happening at 4:00. It's 4:11, and he's not even here yet. So he is on the way. Don't know when he's going to be here exactly, and if he is going to talk, that's completely up to him.
Okay. Yeah. I mean,
that makes more sense.
I would certainly hope that it's understood. I mean, I'm not going to speak for anybody else in that room, even you, but we don't need to hear from him today. Okay. Nope. I mean, if he wants to do it for whatever reason, you know, just to keep his mind fresh or not think about it or whatever, that's his choice. But I'm not heading over there until a little bit later tonight. But if I was in there, I don't know what the heck I'd ask, you know, other than to just express condolences and.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the hard part of this is not knowing what's gonna happen. Because it's just such a sensitive situation, and who knows what his mindset is right now. It might just be, you know, family, or maybe even before anything happened last night, that it was just like, you know what, experience it the way you normally would. But if he also needs time, he needs time. So it's completely up to him.
Matt Hyde asked some questions. We're going to get into some football here. It says, hey, do you think Pittsburgh trades back into the second round? They're not trading back into the second round. First round's over. I think, I see what you mean, back as in returning into the second round. Okay, I think it's backward. Do you think Omar can pull it off, Chris?
I have a hard time thinking that. I'm not saying that, you know, I don't want to say Omar can't do it, but I'm skeptical based off of everything that I had heard going into the draft, that getting back into the second round, especially by not trading back in the first round, it seems really difficult. Now, picking up another day 2 pick, another pick tonight, I'm not completely ruling that out, but in the second round seems a little rich. I think the Steelers will be happy if they can get another third round pick even.
Kyle Mundy asks, with a couple of Canadian dollars attached to it, what could the Steelers get for picks 4 through 7? And I believe Kyle's not talking about moving around. He's talking about actual football players here. Is there down there? We keep hearing that this is the sweet spot, the day 2. You know, is there what's 4 through 7 look like compared to a standard 4 through 7, Chris?
Well, round 4 still looks pretty good. You can still get. I mean, we're talking about. I remember, you know, I on the DK Sports.com, I put all the best players available, and some of those guys are probably going to be available still after tonight is done. I like Jamari Caldwell, for example, nose tackle out of Oregon, Derek Harmon's teammate at Oregon. He could be possibly still available in the 4th round. I think that would be an interesting option. Yes, I do think they're going to double dip, or there's a good chance they'll double dip at defensive tackle, possibly for a true nose. But there are going to be some players in the 4th and the 5th round. 6 and 7, it's pretty much the same as it always is. You're especially 7th round, you're pretty much taking a flyer just to see what happens. Take a good athlete, see if you can mold him into something.
Mark says he loved the members only chat last night. So did we. That was actually really cool. We got going at midnight, and we had quite the crowd. And we also had a couple of very special guests passing through behind behind the camera last night in Andy Weidel and Omar Khan. People got to see how exactly close we are when it comes to proximity in terms of actually covering the team. Mark asks, serious question, how much of Mel Kiper's meltdown do you think was fueled by Shedeur Sanders' agent trying to build a market for his client? Chris, what were we actually doing at the facility last night that we wouldn't have any idea what this even is? Working. And the room, for anybody who doesn't know, we're not watching on TV. There's a silent monitor up to the top right. Okay. And it was lagging so far behind that we were just basically using Chris's laptop, which was set on Pro Football Focus and their tracker, which is amazing, by the way. We say a lot of bad things about PFF, but they have a beautiful draft tracker. And it's like this. It is super fast.
Way ahead, too.
Way ahead. And we're watching everything, and we're reacting to it, and we're working. The last thing we're worried about is what the people are saying on this broadcast. On that note, Duke Mail says, I've turned off all national media when it comes to following the Steelers. They have no clue about this team. DK Pittsburgh Sports and the other local outlets are the only place for accurate reporting. Duke, that's very much appreciated. I want to clarify. This concept of national and local is so thrown out of whack. There's not a national individual thing. ESPN is a network that obviously encompasses the country, so it's a national outlet. But ESPN also has a reporter on the scene full time, Brooke Pryor, who covers the team. Okay, so is she national or is she local? The answer is she covers the team. She's here. She's in Pittsburgh. She's covering the team, and she does a fine job. Okay, that's the definition here. Do you cover the team or do you not cover the team? The people that you were hearing from related to the quarterback or Deion's kid or whatever, none of those people cover the team. That's the line here more than anything else. It's not about who's considered this level or that level or whatever. There's no hierarchy when it comes to this kind of stuff. Mark Cunningham wants to know why the kid is even coming to Pittsburgh today, because he wants to.
Yeah, I mean, again, I doubt the organization is saying, yeah, you still got to come here. It's still mandatory. There's nothing. No, I don't believe that whatsoever. If he's coming, it's because he wants to.
Janet obviously has come late to the program. She says, why isn't anyone talking about Derek Harmon losing his mom? It was the first 10 minutes of the program, Janet. As he got drafted, my God, is this so hard on a young man? I pray for him so hard and his family. Like I said, you missed the first 10 minutes of the show here. John says, if they have a running back in round 3, what quarterbacks are likely to be available in round 4? And do they rhyme with Jalen Milroe?
Yeah, Milroe could be. I could also see somebody taking him in the second round too, just because of the upside. Will Howard could slide. Kyle McCord could slide. These quarterbacks are hard to project. They really
Will
are.
Howard, man.
Yeah. Oh, fourth round. I'm all for it. It's so hard to project this class of quarterbacks. I mean, even Shedeur Sanders didn't go in the first round. It's so hard to predict, and this is already a hard draft to predict anyway. But quarterbacks are even harder to predict just because the position is not that great.
Steelers South says that George Pickens trade talks are happening. They're taking calls. No, they're not trading George. If you guys want it, you can just turn the program off and put your TVs on and go for whatever the people who don't cover the team are telling you, or you can listen to people who cover the team, but don't throw it in our faces. They're not trading George. When teams call you, when an executive calls an executive, a GM calls in a GM, how often, what percentage of those calls get taken by that GM? 100. That's the business. All of them. That is the business of being a GM, any sport. Okay. If you are a GM who doesn't take calls, you are a GM who is not long for this profession. You have to take them. The Steelers take them. They don't say, leave me alone. Stop calling me, especially doubly so at this time of year. Chris, if you can explain to Steeler South, why is it that George will be staying here?
They don't. Well, there's a couple of reasons. Number one, they don't want to create the same situation they were in last year. That's exactly what they'd be doing. They'd just be trading out George Pickens for DK Metcalf, and then if Metcalf were to then go down with an injury, it's the same conundrum as last year. When Pickens went down with the injury, he was the number one target. It ended up being Calvin Austin, and as good as Calvin Austin has become, he's not a number one guy. He's barely a number two guy. I mean, he's got a role,
no.
and he could be really good in that role. And then this wide receiver class, they're not.
It's not
not
there.
that thrilled with it.
No.
Yeah.
JD says apparently the Steelers are open for business to some degree. And now you're falling for the terminology that gets used whenever they're trying to make it sound like they've got some kind of story. The Steelers are taking calls. They're open for business. He's answering the phone. That's it. He's answering the phone. The Steelers do not intend at all to trade George Pickens. We aren't guessing at this.
Yeah, and the thing is that this could all be a situation in which, let's just say, hypothetically, George Pickens gets traded tonight, and then you're going to come back at us and be like,
"You said,
what do you?" Yeah,
just means somebody offered something insanely stupid because he took the call. That's it.
Yeah. And that's what you do as a GM. You never know when a team is going to offer you something that they should have never offered you, and you're going to take advantage of a team being stupid and say thank you, and then you move on and you figure it out from there. But, man, there is zero intention of actually trying to trade George Pickens.
Sean Evans says, DK and Chris, if Tyler Shuck falls to 82, do you take him or do you go best available running back? It's hard to have a fourth-round conversation without having a third-round conversation. I really feel like the best way to frame the quarterback thing is which of these remaining quarterbacks would you most hope that the Steelers end up with, regardless of round? Think about it that way, okay? Now, we've agreed for a long time now that Shuck is the one who's the most NFL ready. Doesn't mean he's got the highest ceiling. I think there are different definitions of what constitutes potential and ceiling. If you have someone who has Milrose, for example, extraordinary athleticism, you can say, well, here's somebody you can really work with because he can do things on the field that other humans can't. You might look at ceiling as what Howard did at Ohio State, which is just to continue to get better and better as the games got bigger and bigger. Who's your guy, Chris? Who is the one that you out of these quarterbacks that are likely to be there in the third and fourth rounds? Who is the one where you'd say, man, that's the guy who would be perfect for Pittsburgh?
For me, it's Milroe. I want the home run swing.
Really? Okay, that's interesting.
I want the home run swing because
I don't think you've said that before, but okay.
When it comes to quarterback, listen, you already have a reliable number two, no matter what, in Mason Rudolph. No matter what happens with Aaron Rodgers, no matter what happens with anybody else, you got a guy who can, in Mason Rudolph, either be a really, really backup or start games for you. So take the young guy that's got a really, really high ceiling and see if he turns into something. And if he does, phenomenal. Now you don't have to worry about mortgaging the future to go get a quarterback next year.
We have Denny says that he was following the draft along with us on our live feed of DK Pittsburgh Sports. That's appreciated. That's as fast as we can go, my man. As much insight as you could possibly get in that time. Kevin Cord says there's a lot of people that talk about Cam Scatterbo. Can be a solid Steelers running back and special teams player. And he's one of those, like, quote-unquote sexy picks because he's got the dramatic highlights and all the theatrics and all that other stuff. Is he a player, Chris?
He's definitely a player, and I think there's going to be some interest, but it depends on where. And the reason why I say that is he runs like he's got a death wish. He looks like he wants to trust all 11 defenders on the other side of the ball every single time he touches it. And he's got a lot. I mean, I think he has over 800 touches in college, so he's already got a lot of touch on him. So there's some risk there when it comes to how is he going to hold up when he's trying to truck NFL defender and the difference. And so I think it's intriguing for sure, but I do wonder about the risk of injury.
Jay Mood says, Shuck baby, old man crew. He's not that old. He's 25. Charles says, I'm good with the pick last night. Again, why are we saying this in some apologetic tones? This was a really good draft pick, guys. Where were you guys hanging out? Like, where did this come from? You know, I'm sorry. I think this is a good pick. This is a really good pick. This kid, hang on, Chris. We're gonna take some time here, okay, for Derek Harmon. Okay. This is a real live football player. Now, I'm going to read you some of his statistics, okay? And then Chris can take it to some of the advanced analytics after I'm done here. But I want to go through the basics. He played all 14 games for Oregon this past season, okay? In those 14 games, he had 45 tackles, 27 solos, 10.5 for losses, 5 sacks, 4 pass breakups, because he's 6'5", 2 forced fumbles, 2 recovered fumbles. And this one's the best by far. This is a PFF stat, but it's one of those, we call them the objective PFF stats, meaning you don't have to get into judgment calls. He had 55 quarterback pressures generated. That was number 1 among all FBS interior defensive linemen. That's number 1, as in number 1. 55 pressures. He was spending as much time in the other team's backfield as the opposing quarterback. That's how effective he was. This is a real live football player. This is a really good pick for the Steelers. And what's more than that, he's part of what universally had been accepted as an outstanding defensive line class. He's been part of that group from day one.
Yeah, the going through the chalk talk that I did last night, going through the film again, after I had obviously already going through it to put the first round draft profile together that I did on him. His strength really stands out. I mean, obviously, like the size and the arm length obviously really stands out too. He's got 34 3/8 inch arms. That's long. So he's got a lot. When you hear length, like he's got good length, that's what we're talking about. The size, the length is there, but he is strong. He can take on double teams when his pad level is low and he stays underneath blocks. There's no moving him. I mean, there was one play in particular I highlighted in the chalk talk that center tried to double team. You know, the center and guard tried to double team, and the center tried to block him so that the guard could get inside of him and get inside leverage on him, and he couldn't do it. He just couldn't do it because his pad level was low, and he was just so strong, and he ended up making a tackle coming off of that double team block. And it's just, when he's technically sound, we're talking about a real football player here, and his first step is really quick. He can get off, like if he
all
gets
his steps are quick. For a guy his size, all his steps are quick.
If he can get into the gap with any kind of speed on that first step, it's over. It's over. He's going to get into the backfield and wreak some havoc.
Dan Van comes in with a $10 contribution and says, with so many comp picks next year and uncertainty about who would even be in round 3 next year, shouldn't the Steelers trade to get back into the third to get someone they know they want and is there? I think Dan means to get back into the second. You can do that. You can trade against your future. You can do that. But I think the more significant question within that is someone there that you really, really want, because you're going to have to want them. You're going to have to be serious about it, because it's not going to be a round for round swap. Whoever's making that trade for you, they have to get the better end of the draft deal.
Yeah, sorry, my internet here is cutting. The south side internet is not always reliable. So yeah, if you're looking to acquire any kind of extra pick today, you're going to have to give up more than just a regular draft pick. I floated like maybe this year's 4th and next year's 3rd. Maybe you could even get away with this year's 5th and next year's 3rd. Whatever it is, either way, you're going to have to give up something of significance in order to get something out of thin air. There's no 2 ways around that. So, it's just, they want to get back into day 2. They, like, if they had their way, they want to get back in the day too, but it's going to be the same thing as it is with Justin Fields. They wanted Justin Fields, but at a certain price. They want to get back into day two, but what price are they willing to pay in order to do it?
Juan Alonso says, not really related to the draft, but if Mason Rudolph can perform like he did 2 years ago, I can only imagine what he can do if he starts from the start, meaning having the offense set up for him from the start, meaning having not just George Pickens running routes, but also DK Metcalf, meaning having an offensive line that ideally, theoretically, would be a lot more advanced than the one that he was operating behind. Yeah, it's funny how that goes, right? I mean, nobody ever seems to think about that. They look back, they don't even look back at 2023 when talking about Mason. They look back at 2019 as if that has any relevance. You know, I think it would be really worthwhile to see how it goes. And by the way, if you're looking at how he did with the worst offense in creation in Nashville last year, then you're really, really getting delusional in terms of, or you're just cherry picking how it is that you choose to analyze this player. James Chamberlain asks, and Chris brought this up last night at the press conference when we were there with Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan, saying that Derek Harmon's rotator cuff and labrum will require surgery, meaning he could be out for a while. No. I don't know. Where did you get that from?
No.
He was examined. He was actually in the Steelers' offices. He was one of the prospects that came in for a visit. And it's funny, when Chris asked the question, Omar answered it, but then Tomlin jumped in to really emphasize it. He's looking at Chris and he goes, he was checked by our doctors in this building. Yep. Okay. Yep. This was not something that they were guessing at.
No, they don't guess at that stuff. And even if listen, there were medical concerns about Cam Hayward when he came out of college. And that's one of the reasons why he slid all the way to 31. The Steelers tipped their hat and they said, thank you. We'll take him. And he's turned into a perennial All-Pro and, at least a consideration for the Hall of Fame as well. So, I mean, come on, like let's this is one of those situations where you actually do want to listen to what the team is saying, like legitimately, and the player himself.
And the player, he didn't even look what we were talking about. He goes like,
yeah, what are you talking about?
He goes, I don't know. Nick says, hey, Chris, who are your favorite nose tackles left, and which round would you draft them? I keep getting the sense that people, and I'm just talking about the public and fans, right, are looking for somebody else to come in and plug the nose because Harmon doesn't do that. In fact, Tomlin stated that much specifically. It was as close as he came to being specific about what kind of role Harmon would fit. He made it sound like, Tomlin did, that Harmon is basically, I'm not putting him at this level, but he's like a second Cam. They have this, they go at the same gaps. They attack the same way. They have, like you said, the long arms. They bat passes down. I would think of, from that standpoint, Tomlin did not use that comparable, but I would think of him more as a Stephon Tuitt type. I can only hope he's as great as Steph was, okay? But I'm just talking about in terms of style. Keanu Benton came up a lot last night in this press conference, and he should, because now you got to figure out what you're doing there. How many guys who are the guys that are on the field if it's just two guys? Who's the nose guy, so to speak, if it's three? And is he a true nose guy? Probably not, because it's probably Keanu. Do you still want a nose guy is basically the question here.
Yeah, I do think that the Steelers are interested in that and possibly addressing that in this draft. There are some true nose tackles. CJ West out of Indiana is a guy that could go today, most likely round 3, but it wouldn't surprise me. You know, Tyleik Williams from Ohio State went in the first round, and he's more nosy. So it would not surprise me if some of these true noses go in the second round today. CJ West out of Indiana is one, as I said. Jamari Caldwell out of Oregon, Harmon's teammate, is another one of them. He's kind of an attractive option. He's been thought more in the 4th round, but I could see him going in the 3rd round. I could see him going tonight. There are guys in this draft to possibly look at. True nose tackles like the Casey Hampton types are few and far between nowadays.
Nor are they wanted.
Yeah, you got to have some versatility. You got to be able to scoot over almost as far as a 3 technique, which is lined up between the guard and the tackle. That's more the Cam Hayward, Stephon Tuitt, Derek Harmon position, but those guys can obviously scoot out even further. But more interior, like your nose tackle, true, like he's in the old. There are some of those guys that can do it, but there's versatility is demanded in today's NFL.
JD comes in with a subject that's very near and dear to a lot of people's hearts, which is, can you imagine being Najee Harris today? That was a shocker. It was the pick right after the Steelers, too, as if the wound needed to be punctuated any further. For anybody who doesn't know, Omarion Hampton, the running back, terrific running back, by the way, maybe my biggest surprise in terms of how far he fell, ended up going to the Chargers of all teams right after the Steelers picked. And that, of course, means that Najee is going to, again, well, or maybe for the first time, really, if you think about it, be relegated to a 1B or a number 2 role with LA. Maybe not at the outset. We'll see how Hampton adjusts as a rookie. You'll see how he blocks and all that other stuff that you got to be able to do in the National Football League. But let's just say that the news was met with a smile on a lot of fronts. And then Chris froze. Look at him froze. Look at him frozen up there. You see him? He just froze. But that actually, at least he froze with a smile. Oh, no. Now he can hear us again. There he is. Okay, we can hear you now.
Working on it. The internet is not cooperating today.
No, we were just discussing the general reaction to the Najee Harris news last night. I mean the Omarion Hampton news.
Oh yeah, that's good stuff. The fact that it happened like right after the Steelers,
right after.
I mean, it's just we're working, like we're you're getting the pictures of Harmon and updating the files. I'm writing, we're like all Derek Harmon, and we just happen to hear, oh, the Chargers took Omarion Hampton. That's funny. Like that's funny.
Yes, there was no small amount of amusement there. Naj did make a whole lot of friends. Let's just put it that way with the way he carried himself in certain settings. I'm sure. Yeah. I know that he also did make a lot of friends in other settings as it relates to the team. So it wasn't a universal thing here. Carol says, happy Friday. Another day to see who the Steelers pick. Do they have only one today without a trade? Yes, Carol. They have just the one. They just have the 3rd round pick for now. They're going to try to move up. Ian, as a refresh here for anybody who missed the beginning of the show, thoughts are with Derek Harmon today on the sad loss of his mom. She did, in fact, pass away this afternoon. Kids' intangibles are off the charts. I don't really want to attach too much that's football to a situation that's infinitely more serious, but I will say that it was something to hear him talk about when he would say, if she can get up after one of her 7 or 8 brain surgeries, what's going to keep me from bouncing back from an injury or feeling sore or going to a football practice? And that has been something that's fueled him all through his collegiate career, and I'm sure it'll continue to do that probably through life.
Yeah, it was something to hear that last night, because the moment he said the word bittersweet.
Yeah, like everybody just went like this, like, whoa, what?
Yeah, and then, yeah, it was just the entire mood of the call changed, because then, of course, it's just like, forget about football, man. Like, take care.
Go to the hospital. That was the other thing he said. Like, as soon as I'm done with you guys, I'm going to the hospital, and we're all like, just go. Yeah. Or Butthole says, is another defensive lineman, swing tackle, or running back more important? Who would be the one that you'd focus on in the 3rd round if all things were even? We're staying with BPA here.
Most likely running back. I mean, obviously, if there's a really, really long run of running backs before they pick at 83, then maybe you have to consider other positions. You don't want to just, like, we're taking a running back no matter what. Yeah, I'm thinking running back in the 3rd round is most likely, but again, it depends on how this draft falls tonight.
Dan comes back from an earlier remark or earlier question. He says, I did, in fact, mean a third round pick, not a second round. You suggested a 2025 fourth and a 2026 third for a third this year. Oh, dude, you're right over my head here with all these.
No,
with all the 2026 comp picks, why shouldn't they do that? Here's Dan. This is a whole lot simpler than all of that. Your scouts don't just scout for that year. Yeah. They already have a whole lot of work done and analytics done toward not just the 2026 class, but to the 2027 class. They already have at least the framework of knowing, wow, that group next year, it might just be a positional group. It might be the class as a whole. It's going to be a lot better than this one, in which case you would want to have more picks next year than you would this year. There's nothing special about 2025. There's nothing where you say, wow, this is the year to load up from the Steelers standpoint, at least in my view.
Yeah, I do think next year's third, if you want to acquire another day 2 pick, I do think next year's third is in play. And the reason why is, well, there's 2 reasons why. Number one, you're going to get a compensatory third round pick for losing Dan Moore. So you're already going to be getting another third, no matter what. You could get more thirds for Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, but either way, you're still getting comp picks for those. Could be 4th round, could be 5th round, but they could be as high as the 3rd round. But you're at least getting one, so you can trade your original third next year. And the second reason why I'm okay with trading next year's third is that if you're going to move up to go get the quarterback next year, if that's your play, it's going to require a future first anyway. So that's going to be the main piece that you're giving away. It's not only that current year's first rounder to move up, but also a future, like the 2027 first rounder. That's going to be the main piece going back, and then you can figure out all the rest of the moving parts.
We mentioned Jalen Milroe. Is he somebody that you take in the 3rd round if he's still there?
For me, yeah. I'm taking the home run swing. I would consider it. Just, again, I'm taking the home run swing. You've got your solid number 2 fringe starter, guy who can start games for you, Mason Rudolph. You most likely for 2025 will have Aaron Rodgers as your number 1. Take the guy who could possibly turn into something really special. Why not?
Hey, I'm looking for more football stuff here. Carl says, as opposed to just so-and-so said this, Carl Spackler said, hey, DK, if who's in the 1st and we trade for a 5th for what's on 2nd, rely on first thing first and second's last, do you think we'd have success? I love you, Carl.
That was funny.
He had me, too. I actually didn't know what the question was. He just kind of strung me along through the whole thing.
I see a question from Leo here. It says, are teams allowed to trade comp picks? Yes, but only after they're awarded.
Yeah, after they're awarded, yeah.
And next year's comp picks are not awarded until next year. So if you're trading a future draft pick, you're trading your original draft pick that you already have the rights to. But you can't trade away comp picks you don't have yet.
One last time. Because Cody says, what's up with the national media shade? People are out here. They're not national media. There's nothing special about them. They haven't been elevated to some sort of status. Okay. If they happen to be on the network, that means they're employed by the network. If they're covering the team, they're here in Pittsburgh covering the team. There's no, that's the part of that figure that drives me nuts. Okay. I don't care what they say. They're not here. Okay. If you do, I'm not saying that you shouldn't, okay? If you do, go nuts. But I wouldn't understand dovetailing that with watching this show. We actually cover the team. We do it independently. We're critical. We're whatever else, okay? We're not like beholden to them or anything, okay? But we're here. This is what we focus on 100% of the time. We're not looking for hot takes. We're not looking for whatever. So if you can separate the two, and by all means, keep it out of here, because we're actually trying to talk about the real stuff about Steelers here. And I get suckered in on these. You notice, Chris, every single time. Like I can't pass them up.
If I can add this too, this is why we follow the team around during the offseason. This is why I go to Mobile. for the Senior Bowl. This is why I go to Indianapolis for the Combine. This is why I go to any pro days that are worth going to. This is why we travel, so that whenever the national media, to use that phrase, is telling you the Steelers are going to take Shedeur Sanders, I can sit here and definitively say defensive tackle is their priority, and that is what they've been looking at ever since the beginning of this entire process.
But it's not just this. It's national media does not. Rick says national media does not have the same in-depth knowledge. National media isn't a thing. They just happen to work for a company in Bristol, Connecticut. Okay, there's not some when we say it, we sound like as if we're sort of speaking of reference. Ooh, national media. It doesn't mean a thing. I'm going to use the example again. If you weren't here earlier, ESPN, national outlet, has a reporter on site full-time covering the Steelers. Is Brooke Pryor national or is she local? The answer is neither. She's just covering the team. That's the distinction here. Are you covering the team or are you not covering the team? That's it. Okay. Simple as that. Let me see if we had any other actual football stuff here. We really need to be all in on Mason as quarterback one. He needs a nice down payment. He made a nice down payment back in 2023. There's been nothing new, incidentally, on the Aaron Rodgers front.
No,
I mean, I'll bring it up since nobody else has. There's been nothing new.
No, nothing new other than the fact that, as I've been reporting this entire time, they are continuing to have open dialogue, continue to have discussion. Nobody's being kept in the dark, and nobody's being held hostage. Being held hostage means that they are unwillingly going along with this. They can back out at any moment. They can tell Rodgers, you know what, we've hit our line of demarcation, we're done. And they can move on. This is just, the dialogue is continuing. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. Knight Rider does nothing in these chats other than cut up Mason. It's like the only reason he's here. I think, you know what I think? I think Knight Rider is an Aaron Rodgers burner account. I think Aaron Rodgers is actually in on this show, and he comes in as Knight Rider. Hey, Mason sucks. Mason, no good. Mason evil. Look at his face, too. He even looks like really, really serious. Look at him. He's just thinking bad thoughts about Mason in that avatar. I can see that we're not going anywhere with this chat here because Beer is still coming in with stuff about Shedeur Sanders and blowing smoke and everything. This is going to be really, really, really tough because it's an uphill. This is an uphill battle because everyone's watching. You know, you're watching the network feeds on this stuff, so that's what you're influenced by.
They do the homework. They do the homework on all these players. They brought Shedeur in for a reason, but quarterback in the first round is not that. That's why I wrote what I wrote the day before, so that you could wake up on draft day and read everything you needed to know about the Steelers and about Shedeur, about their stance on Shedeur Sanders. But it doesn't get broadcast on ESPN, so you're not reading it there.
Cody says he says, I'm bringing this up because there's a drama between the fan base and the organization. People are mad with the first round pick. Who? This is today in this chat is the first time I'm hearing from anybody this perception that people are mad about this first round pick. And yet at the same time, there's so far in this huge long chat, there's been one person that came in from Facebook that said that they really hated the pick. Otherwise, it's people saying that they're reading people who hate the pick. Have you gotten that sense at all that Derek Harmon's an unpopular pick with the fan base? Where does that even come from?
The only people that I could I don't know. I haven't been paying attention. I slept until 11 o'clock this morning, man. I was up until 5 o'clock working last night. I slept in late. I woke up. I got some stuff done around the house. Tried to relax for a little bit. I'm not relaxing. To me is not going to the cesspool and seeing what everybody thinks. It's just not.
Yeah, all I know, and I'll say this in general here before we get to our business segment, is that if you're coming here, this show is different. Okay, you might not like us, you may not believe us, you might not value what it is that we do, but we're actually in there covering the team. So don't stack us up with this or that or whatever. It doesn't mean we're better. It doesn't mean we're worse. Okay, it's just it's different. These are two reporters. spending a little bit of time with you each day, sharing with you what we're learning. We're not going to comment on other people's stuff, let alone people who don't even cover the team. That's a waste of everybody's time. Tanner Skiles says, if Giddens is the 83rd pick, this will be our last question for the day. Should the Steelers draft a quarterback in the 4th or another defensive lineman? That keeps coming up. The nose tackle thing. I'm sure that's what he means. Say your top quarterback options are Ewers and McCord.
I would take McCord, honestly. Pitt fans don't have a good memory of McCord because he was awful. I mean, awful against Pitt this past season. Threw 5 picks. I think like 2 or 3 of them were pick sixes. It was a terrible game. But I would take McCord at that point. At least I would consider it. I would have to see what other defensive tackles are left. If somebody like Jamari Caldwell is still there, I'd have a hard time passing on him. I'm all about beefing up the trenches. But yeah, I don't know. 4th round, it gets a little more dicey because it just depends on how the board is falling.
Yeah. All right, Chris. Well, we'll let you get back to work over there. I'll be joining you in a little bit here for rounds 2 and 3. We'll see if the Steelers can pull something off getting into round 2. And then we'll be back later tonight with a members only show. We don't have an exact time on it, but I will stay in touch. We'll put something in the live chat like last night. We didn't leave anybody hanging. We let you know exactly what time once we were able to figure out how things were going to play out. We'll do that for you guys, members only. And speaking of members only, make sure you stay with us after this little break here. See you later, Chris. Yeah, I don't mean to keep bringing up the media stuff. It's really like here's Toddy says, there's a very loud minority who think that not drafting Shedeur Sanders was a terrible mistake. Now, if you watched this show or read my stuff or anything for several weeks now, but especially the past few days, I've been telling you emphatically that they weren't taking a quarterback in the 1st round. And I wasn't saying that as some sort of hot take or speculation. I was told this, told this. And that's I guess that's kind of what kind of puts me on edge with this subject, because it's like people will come here and say, yeah, but so-and-so random person who doesn't cover the team at all said this. So what do you have to say about that?
See, but you never explain what covers the team.
Covers the team. Yeah, she's right here. She says, you never explain what covers the team means. We're there. We're on the scene. We're credentialed. We're in the building. We're in the media areas. We're completely independent, as you've seen from the content that I've created, whether it's written or spoken. We will criticize them, okay? They don't have any say or sway over what it is that we do. But we're in there. Okay, we're talking to people. It's very, very, very different. And it's not an equal thing to these people that are just, what do you think about this person said this? I don't care. We're doing our own stuff. Boots on the ground, says Mr. CJ. That's way better than what I said. See, CJ said it all here in 4 words. Boots on the ground. That's it. Fred says, if you're a true Steelers fan, this is the place to be. I mean, it doesn't just have to be us. I'm saying this about anybody that covers the team. And the coverage doesn't mean you talk about them or you write about them. It means you're there. You're on location, wherever they are, every practice, every event, everything, every game, worldwide, every access point, every press conference. That's who we are. It's very, very, very different. Let's get to the business here. Lots of new members, as you can imagine, with the members only show going up last night. Max came in. Cody, who's been pretty vocal in today's show, came in. James Fairfield dropped a couple of bucks. Tanner dropped 5. 828 Style dropped a 5, and I didn't get this one read. He says, I think the Steelers know that Aaron Rodgers is on board. They just told him not to come until after he gets his darkness retreat out of the way. As soon as we hear anything definitive about Rodgers, we will share it. Cody with another 5. Eric gifted not just 1, but 2 did that. Tobacco Salad with a couple. Dan Van had a follow-up point for $5, following up to his point that he made for $10, because did not correctly read the first one. So I cost you $5, dude. So I'm sorry about that and appreciate it. Vic came in with his usual contributions. And Fremont is new. Kyle from up in Canada dropped a couple of bucks. Butthole just wants us to say butthole every day on the show. So he keeps doing it just to get the cheap laugh out of Chris. And last round of new members here is Tariq, Nick, Alec, either Angel or Angel. Apologize for not knowing which. Brad and Mike and Craig and Max. And that's everybody. I got everybody. So again, we will have one of these members only. By the way, if you missed the members only show last night, it actually did happen that Andy Weidel was walking right behind and said something to Chris, whatever. And Chris, the funniest part is, can we bring Chris back? We do it every time now anyway. Let's do that. All right. So we're bringing Chris back. The funny part is that I'm asking Chris some kind of like super inside thing that we don't have the answer to, right? And Andy Weidel walks right behind. I'm like, just ask him.
Yeah.
He knows.
Yeah. Both Andy walked by and said normal greeting thing, but then Omar walked by. And I actually just picked up the computer. I was like, "Hey, there's Omar."
He waved to you guys.
He waved too, but that wasn't as good as coming up to us and taking us inside the room and everything that all went into the Derek Harmon pick and what kind of offers he got and what's he thinking about at quarterback. And Daniel Suarez asks how many members now. The answer is 1805. What's cool within that though, is we've shared this with you before, is if you come in on your own as opposed to on a gift membership, that's recurring. And that's something that ends up gradually building up our number over time. The way to do that is to go to dkps.net/join. You will not want to miss this members only show tonight. You're going to have to trust me on that one here. JD says that was hilarious. Denny says, how are you going to top that tonight? And we're going to top that. We're going to get Art Rooney. Just going to say, sit down here, sit down. You got to talk to these. They're members. Come and talk to them.
Oh, by the way, as I was walking outside to get on the show, I walked right by Mike Tomlin. And that's what happens when you're here and you're local. You walk by the people that matter and you talk to them and
you're just on the beat. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
You're in there. Rico comes in at the very last second. Look at Rico sliding in. Ooh. As the garage door was closing. Do you see this? Rico says with a $20 contribution, Will Howard has been compared to Cam.
I think it means Harmon.
Oh, he has to mean Harmon here. Derek Harmon has been compared to Cam Hayward as far as physical attributes, and it's uncanny, but he seems to have the Cam qualities of humility and dedication to family. He will greatly benefit by being mentored by the man himself. And let's remember that Cam also lost a parent at a very young age, the famous Craig Ironhead Hayward. We have quite the story to tell here, I believe, with this young man for the next few years. I can't say enough good things about the pick from a pure football standpoint. Mm-hmm. But the very, very, very early impressions of the person appear to be something special as well, don't they?
Oh yeah, for sure. Again, whenever a young man, I mean, he's 21 years old, is that open when he doesn't have to be. I mean, we cover a football team, but we cover football, and that includes the coaches, the executives, the players. They don't have to share anything about their personal lives.
We don't ask, by the way.
We don't ask. He was simply asked, how did it feel, to get that draft call, to see the 412 area code pop up on your phone and get that phone call. And he's the one who unsolicitedly said, it was bittersweet. And he explained why, it didn't have to be that open, but he chose to be. And that goes to speak to the type of person he is and what's important to him. It's easy to see why the Steelers like him, not just on the field, the tangible stuff, but also the intangibles, as Mike Tomlin said last night.
No, it's good stuff. We appreciate all you guys. We're both a little bit extra caffeinated here. I'm on a handful of hours of sleep myself after doing a whole lot of writing and other stuff last night. And we're going to do it all over again tonight. And then we're going to do it all over again tomorrow. So we'll be with you. Hope you're with us. for the members only show tonight. DKPS.net/join. It's 99 cents for the entire month, the whole channel. You can do this.
I just used my own YouTube channel, by the way,
saw
to
it.
become a member. Yeah,
Chris became a member.
my own YouTube channel. Yeah, it's worth. It's $1. It's $1
It's not even $1. We give you a penny back.
after taxes. It's like $1.05.
There. Oh,
It's-
jeez. Oh man.
Now we
I
have to
know.
give a raise.
Extra nickel.
Oh, geez.
All right, guys. See you later tonight.